Greetings and welcome to the 2021 Determined Publishing Book Study. It is such a pleasure to be in your home, in your office, wherever you might be at this time. I enjoying this broadcast. Look, I'm gonna have to tell y'all, I I'm got um I'm having some feedback here. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can fix the feedback. I think that's it. Let's see if that's it. No. All right. I'm hoping that you can hear me. All right. Let's see if this is working okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Hey, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. I am finally getting this thing together, y'all. I don't know why I was having so much trouble tonight getting on this broadcast, but I did. And I'm on now, and it's okay. I'm telling you, technology is absolutely amazing. And like I'm telling y'all, I really need to get just one device. I'm working with two different devices because of limitations, and it is a headache. I'm gonna just say that. So I'm gonna take some time to hopefully be able to invest into technology that is one piece of technology so I can do the broadcast and do it on time. It's 6:54 and I should have been on 24 minutes ago. Or yeah, well, yeah, 26 minutes ago, 24. Yeah. And I'm still getting some feedback from somewhere. And I'm gonna just talk this through till I get it right. Can y'all hear feedback? Because for some reason I'm hearing feedback on my end. And let's see if I can get this again. We're gonna get this right. I might have to edit this video later. And if I do, I'll figure that out too, because I don't know how to do it, but I'll figure it out. Oh, you know what? I know exactly where the feedback's coming from. I know exactly where it's coming from. There we go. Ow! I love this. I love mistakes because everything is not going to be perfect in life. It just is what it is. Everything is not going to be perfect in life. We're going to have mistakes. We're going to have some hiccups. We're going to have some things that happen that we don't like. Life is just not perfect. Life is messy. Life is messy. I'm still hearing some feedback. Life is messy. Let's see, can you all hear me? I'm trying to eliminate this feedback, but for some reason I can't get myself together here. I'm gonna keep working at it. We're gonna get to the book study. But I'm about to work with this until I figure out why I'm getting feedback. Oh Lord. Mhm. All right, well, you know what? I think we're just gonna have to go with it. We're gonna have to go with it, and if it is feedback, if you all are hear me echoing, just let me know. I might have to record this separately, but for right now, I'm gonna go forward in it. All right. So welcome to. Oh, let me do this. Welcome to our 2021 Determined Publishing Book Study with author Stephanie Humphrey. I'm so excited to be with you tonight. I have one of my favorite short stories tonight to share with you. It is called Bountiful Blessings. It is a really short read, very straight to the point, with a couple that we'll highlight tonight. It is filled with a lot of family fun, a lot of friendship fun, and romantic fun. Before we get there, though, I want to introduce to some of you and remind others of you that my newest release, Walking Out Our Love, is available on Kobo Rakuten, absolutely free. You will have to download the app to get the book for free, or if you already have a Kobo device, just look for Stephanie Humphrey or look for Walking Out Our Love, and you download that. It is a really fun read. I enjoyed writing this book. So and I think you'll enjoy reading the book. So I'm gonna give you a little synopsis. Emerald becomes stranded on a long, dark road. She abandons her car in hopes of finding help, but she finds herself slowly falling in the snow. She fully awakes 2 days later to the eyes of a handsome, half-naked stranger. Dominic is immediately taken back by the lady lying unconscious in the snow, bleeding from her head. She is appealing even in her injured state. And with her hollering out at the hospital, he knew he needed to help her. Will their unlikely meeting lead to a likely friendship, or actually a likely relationship? This book is a faith-based romance novel, and it is filled with prayer. So pick you up a copy of Walking Out Our Love today. I also want to present to you, I actually had another book, but I'm going to present it to you, but I don't have it physically in my hand. On June 1st, I will release my next book and my final romance novel for a little while. It is called A Return to Our Love, the story of Robert and Sabrina. It's a mess. It's a mess, but it's a lot of fun. There is a excerpt available on my website at determinedpublishing.com. Right on the title page or the home page, you'll see a link there so that you can pull up that and get you a little taste of Robert and Sabrina. The book starts off with introductions. It introduces who Robert is, it introduces who Sabrina is, and then it takes you on the beginning of a very interesting meeting and conversation that takes place between Robert and Sabrina. Again, that is A Return to Our Love, the story of Robert and Sabrina, and it will be available June 1st. I have yet to determine how much the book will be, but I will let you know so that you can get a copy of that. I'll actually go ahead and drop links for both books in the description once this video is over. Awesome. You know what? Before I get into reading, my contest is going on. In case you didn't know, I have a contest that's happening right now, and it centers around Bountiful Blessings. It is also in honor of Mother's Day. So in this book, Regina Reid is the owner of Bountiful Blessings Bed and Breakfast, or B four squared. She she has created a family environment at her bed and breakfast. And so the contest centers around if you could start the business of your dreams, like if you have the resources to start any business you wanted to start, how would you provide a family-friendly environment? And we know that mothers, they nurture us, they love us, they create atmospheres for us to grow and to develop and to be who God has called us to be. And so this is the atmosphere that Regina creates. And so the contest again centers around that. So go to my website at determinedpublishing.com, click the contest tab and read the little excerpt about the rules, and then read the prompt and go ahead and fill it out. If you had resources to start your business, how would you create a family-friendly environment? Awesome. So let's get into some reading, y'all. Let's get into some reading. So, chapter 1. Today was going to be busy as usual. 19 dozen short stem red roses were ordered, 150 truffles chilled in the fridge, duck, chicken, and beef simmered in the oven, while veggies steamed on the stove. White, rose-etched linen covered the small round tables, and fine china tableware rested on top. Well, imitation anyway, but the absolute best. 25 loving couples made the Valentine's Day celebration dinner complete. Regina loved this holiday. She loved preparing a special love experience for the couples who paid a handsome fee for dinner, dancing, and all the lovely additions at Bountiful Blessings Bed and Breakfast, better known as Before. Regina always served brunch to her guests at 10 and closed the kitchen at noon to prepare for the celebration. It was already 2 and the preparations were well underway for the arrival of their guests at 6:30. Regina gathered her staff for their yearly Valentine's Day talk. As you hear me say every year, Valentine's Day, let me try that again. As you hear me say every year, this is our most special Valentine's Day celebration yet. We have 25 couples joining us, and we must ensure that this night is unforgettable. We will cater to the needs of our guests, and then we will celebrate at midnight with our own special dinner and dancing. The room is already prepped. Woohoo! Angel chimed in. What special gift do you have in store this year, Jeannie? It is a surprise, Angel, and you know it. I know, but I was hoping you would steal this year. Not a chance, Regina exclaimed. Don't blame a girl for trying. Angel snapped her finger. I don't, Regina snapped back, refocusing her attention on her staff. After a few more announcements, they were released to rest before the evening festivities. How do I look, Mom? This is the next scene. How do I look, Mom? Handsome, my boy, just handsome. Regina admired her son Johnny through the full-length antique mirror. He was handsome. Her son. Well, technically her friend Janet's son. They had been friends since the crib, with their parents having been best friends before then. Yet Janet had passed away from breast cancer. Since Regina had helped Janet raise Johnny, it was natural for her to adopt him. Mothering him had always been a part of her life with Janet as mom and as Aunt Jeannie. Now she was mama, and she had to admit she loved it. Regina fought back the tears. It had only been 8 months, and she missed Janet dearly. They had been through everything together, including her messy relationship with Johnny's father, Tony. He bailed as soon as he found out Johnny was diagnosed with Down syndrome. 7 years after Johnny was born, Tony married his wife, Lexi, a special needs educator in the local school system. She helped Tony see the error of his ways and had encouraged Tony to get to know Johnny. Once he learned about Down syndrome and how unique and wonderful his son was, he contacted Janet to meet him. Tony had admitted his wrong and asked Janet to forgive him for abandoning her and Johnny. Regina encouraged her that the very least she could do was meet with him. And, and talk out arrangements for him to meet Johnny. It took time for Janet to come around, and after several months of communication, she finally did. Lexi was a sweet lady, and after their initial meeting, both she and Lexi had left Janet and Tony to work out the details for their son. They did just that. Tony visited once a month because of the distance, and Johnny stayed with him 2 weeks during the summer, but they talked to each other every day. Janet and Regina were both thankful that Tony had come around. Johnny loved having his dad in his life and being a part of both families. They had grown so close that once Johnny was in his teens, Janet increased the time he stayed with his dad to spring break, 4th of July weekend, a week during Christmas, and 1 month in the summer. Times she knew Tony treasured, but as of late, let me get my eyes together. Ooh. But as of lately had caused Regina worry. I got it that time. She was beginning to think that Tony was no longer on board with Janet leaving her as Johnny's legal guardian. He had mentioned more than once that Johnny needed to be home with two parents. Regina reminded him each time that he had given up his parental rights a long time ago, and that his mother had left her son in the best possible care. While Tony let it go, Regina knew it was never over. Oh well, he may have all kinds of money at his disposal and a high-priced lawyer to boot, but she had the only person that mattered on her side. That was God. Along with her family and her upstanding position in the community, she knew there was no way that Tony could refute that she was a wonderful mother to John. She hoped he would never try. Regina glanced at herself in the mirror, focusing on the evening at hand. Johnny had disappeared back to his room. Regina was fully dressed when he returned. You are pretty, Mama. Thank you, my son. It is 5, and are you ready to head down? I will come down in a minute. There is something I want to do, Johnny explained. Well, I'm going on. Okay. Regina grabbed her makeup bag, scooped up her shoes, and headed downstairs. She perused the dining area. The roses were nestled inside glass vases and arranged in the middle of the tables. The 2 rose garlands that were special ordered graced the drink and dessert tables. They were exquisite, adding a touch of elegance to the room. The jazz band was busy setting up in the far left corner, and the twinkle lights shone beautifully overhead. She smiled at the disco ball hanging over the dance floor. An addition Angel insisted they needed this year. She would see what her guests said about it after the comment cards rolled in. She gave the room one more check. Everything was perfect. The guests would be arriving in a little over an hour. So she followed her nose to the kitchen to see how dinner was coming along. It smells delicious in here. Regina touched the arm of her sous chef. Sage was a tall, thick man with defined muscles, a shiny bald head, and a well-groomed goatee. He was a fortress in stature, with a temper to boot. Yet his heart was tender, if you stayed on his good side. Regina was glad she was, but that was not always the case. Sage had his own way of running the kitchen. Regina had her own way of managing her business. And initially, the two clashed wheels. With continued conversation and humility from both, they reached an agreement. Now, the two of them were the best of friends and watched over the rest of the staff. Yeah, Regina could count on Sage for anything, and she was thankful for their bond. She watched his tattooed arms stir whatever was boiling in his large silver pot. He glanced at her from under his chef hat with a fierce look settled on his face from years as a bouncer. A look that would have most people shaking in their boots, but she was not most people. She smirked at him before she saw his lips upturn. He winked at her before turning his attention back to his dish. Regina shook her head as she walked to the storage room and put her belongings on the second shelf. She checked the refrigerator. The salads were colorfully arrayed and the sparkling cider chilled. She strolled to the stove. The soup smells wonderful. She used a new ingredient. Brett glanced at her as he wrapped the asparagus. I bet you can't guess what? The assistant sous chef glanced up at Regina with a smile that would make the strongest of women fall to their knees before him. Brett was a charmer with a clean shaven face and brown curls that usually ran wild atop his head. Today, his curls were neatly braided and tucked under his chef hat. His muscled arms were his muscled arms bulged from beneath his t-shirt, boasting only one tattoo of his now deceased grandmother. She had raised him when his own mother decided she did not want to be bothered or bogged down, and his dad was too busy with the next woman. Despite all, his grandmother showed him all the love and care he returned to the ladies in his life, namely the B4 staff. Regina loved the two men God had brought to her business. She couldn't help but ponder how truly blessed she was to have them in her life, both professionally and personally. Brett was like a little brother to her, and as always, it was time to teach him a lesson. I know that's right. Regina smirked as she grabbed a nearby bowl and dipped the soup in. She never backed down from a food challenge, especially when it came from Brett and his many appetizer creations. He was always perfecting a dish or adding a bold new flavor to give it a mule's kick, as he called it. Regina savored the taste but couldn't readily identify the additional flavors. She eyed the spice rack. It's not there. It's a special blend. I promise you will never guess. Brett's enthusiasm was contagious. I will before the night is over, Regina replied. If you don't, he eyed her with victory. I will cook for you on Friday night, Regina glanced at Brett. Oh, you are so putting on an apron on Friday, Brett grinned. We'll see. Regina took another spoonful. Deal? Brett's teeth shone. Absolutely, Regina confirmed. Have you all ever had food challenges like with your siblings or with your best friends? Like what do they do now? Like you cook your favorite dish, like everybody either cooks their favorite dish or their specialty dish, or you cook the same dish and see which one tastes the best. So in my family, we never had like a food challenge or anything like that. But at some of our family events, we have had multiple family members cook the same dish, and we will talk about it. We were like, "Ooh, this was the best. Oh, this person's potato salad was the best, or this person's barbecue was the best." So, have you all ever had any food challenges? If you have, like, throw it in the chat. Just give me a shout out with that. I think cook-offs. I did talk to my family about having a cook-off. I think cook-offs, like within the family or within your friends, like that's so much fun. Not only do you get some good eating, but you get a healthy dose of competition happening as well. So Brett and Regina always had cook-offs or always tried to outdo each other in the kitchen. So getting back to the story, Regina loved her staff who were more like her family. God had certainly favored her with an awesome team. She was also thankful that they accepted the new and approved compensation package she offered. In lieu of a salary, the staff received a 2-bedroom suite, utilities paid, and 3 meals a day, courtesy of the kitchen. They were, however, allowed tips, and the guests of Bountiful Blessings, from the lodging to dining, tipped very well. This was usually enough for her staff's personal needs, health benefits, and entertainment. So, you all, what do you think? Like, would you opt to have a benefits package in lieu of a salary on your job? Like, this benefits package she have here is not too bad. Like, you have a place to live, you have food, you get to have tips. So I'm just wondering, throw me a little line in the chat if your company had like a superb benefits package or superb perks that they could offer you, like pay, like your like a place to live, your food, um, being offered to you or made for you, like would you take that in lieu of a salary? Curious to know what you think about that. Sage and Brett were the only two to receive a stipend for their superb culinary skills and for maintaining an impeccable kitchen and storage area. God had truly worked things out in her favor, and she knew her staff all felt the same. Regina smiled when she heard the buzzer. All right, team, 5:45, time for us to get dressed. Karen called out. That was Regina's cue. She strolled to the front to check on the heart pins and to see if her photographer had all she needed. She laughed when she came around the corner and saw her camera loving son posing for pictures. She admired the photographer's background with red, pink, and silver hearts bursting in the sky, one that Johnny had no doubt chosen. I'm actually going to push forward just a little bit because I want to get to the part where Regina meets Stephen. So I'm skipping ahead a couple of paragraphs. Regina floated around the dining area along with Johnny, checking on their guests. The appetizers and main dishes were long gone, and most of them were enjoying their berry top cheesecake, lemon layer cake, red velvet cake, and or chocolate truffles. A few of them had already moved to the dance floor, where the band had switched from slow ballads to upbeat jazz tunes and R&B. Regina was tempted to join them, but dancing would have to wait till later. The couple seemed to be entranced in the romance, so she went back into the kitchen to stir the red sauce for their dinner later. No sooner than she began her task, an unexpected buzz sounded from the front door. Regina glanced at Brett and Karen, who wore a "who in the world could that be" look on her face. Brett wiped his hands on the towel beside him. Do you want me to go with you? Regina was already removing her apron. No, I am fine. She went through the kitchen's back entrance and around to the front door. A set of brown eyes stared at her through the glass window. The man wore a gray suit, a white shirt, and a gray and red striped tie. He held a briefcase in his hand and his expression was pleading. Regina's eyes drifted further down the walk to another man wearing a trench coat and a defeated slouch. She could only see the side of his face since his body was turned halfway from the door. She did, however, notice his tousled hair and downward glance. She switched back to the gentleman in front of her. Sir, we are closed for the evening. Regina spoke with him through the glass, unsure of his intention. I know, ma'am. I apologize for this untimely visit, but this is somewhat of an emergency. My boss, he motioned to the trench coat, needs a place to stay for about a month or so. And we were informed that your place is the absolute best accommodations around, and that you offer cottages separate from the main facility. We would like one of your cottages. We know that this is a huge inconvenience on the night of your Valentine's Day dinner, and we will compensate you for your trouble. Regina examined the man in the trench coat, whose brown eyes now bored into her brown ones. An abundance of gray covered his brown curls, and hard lines etched his square-shaped face. Weariness outlined his eyes as if he had not slept in days. He held her gaze He held her gaze for a few moments before his eyes moved past her. Brett, everything okay? He alerted her of his presence. He stood with his arms crossed over his massive chest. Had she mentioned that he used to be a bouncer as well? Yes, these gentlemen need our cottage accommodations. Brett grunted. He knew, despite Regina's seeming hesitation, that she had a soft heart and would help anyone in need. Regina looked back at the man in the trench coat whose back was toward her now. Please, ma'am, I know that his appearance is not inviting, but he will cause no harm to you or your establishment. We just need to get him settled in a place to stay. Is he hiding away from the cops? Did he commit a crime? Is he under witness protection? And you are hiding him away here? What is the deal? Regina questioned. She saw the man visibly sigh. Thank you, ma'am. We will be on our way. The first gentleman stepped from the porch, but turned back when he heard the latch. He called for his boss to join him through the door Regina held open for them. She knew the boss was in trouble, but she felt at peace about her decision to let them in. Oh, thank you so much, ma'am. You will not regret your kindness. And as promised, Mr. Price will not cause any harm here or bring outside aggravation to your business. I will hold you to that promise, Mr. The man held out his hand. Grant Jacobs. Grant will do fine. This is my boss, Stephen Price. She caught a whiff of Grant's woodsy smelling cologne when he stepped in. She coughed at the stench of alcohol on Stephen when he stormed by. Once they were inside, Regina locked the door and led them to the front desk for check-in. Brett stood by to ensure that all went well. Grant paid the housing and dining fee for 6 weeks, adding in a $1,000 tip for the inconvenience. She explained how to use the cottage key and gave the guidelines for the dining hall and room care. Normally, I would walk you over myself, Regina handed Grant the guest package, but I must attend to my guest here. Regina glanced at Stephen. Mr. Price, I will bring you a plate at the end of the evening. She was met with a stare of contempt, but Regina was not deterred. And I trust you will be in a better mood by then. As a reminder, alcohol is strictly prohibited on these grounds. That includes your room. She eyed him as a mother would her child. Stephen opened his mouth to say something, but Grant beat him to it. Yes, ma'am. I will make sure there are no bottles hidden away. Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Have a great night, Mr. Price. I will see you later. Stephen grunted his response. And just in case you don't feel up to letting me in, I will use my key. He shot a glance at her. Per the rules outlined in the housing contract, it is highlighted. Mr. Jacob will review it with you. I sure will, ma'am. Thank you. Grant quickly rushed Stephen toward the door. Regina locked it behind them. Grant opened the door to the heavenly hut and walked in. Stephen followed along with the chauffeur carrying Stephen's bags. Stephen perused the room. A brown plush couch, love seat, and recliner with beige and brown striped pillows. A wood kitchen table with matching chairs set for a party of 4. Walls decorated with pictures of nature and pottery vessels. I trust by your non-complaining that the accommodations meet your approval. Grant was hopeful. Stephen glanced at him with a raised brow. Grant rolled his eyes. All right then, your room key and the contract. Grant reviewed the highlighted areas before placing the form on the dining room table. Please be cordial to Miss Grant when Miss Reid when Please be cordial when Miss Reid brings your food. I will call on Wednesday to check on you. Do you need anything else from me? No, I am all settled in thanks to you and my company's board. Thank you. Stephen responded sarcastically. Grant was not deterred by his boss's tone. This is only temporary, Mr. Price. We must wait until the noise dies down and you are better. Stephen walked around the room. It wasn't a bad place to recover from all he had been through in the last year. He sighed. Just make sure my stocks remain steady, Grant. Yes, sir, Mr. Price. Anything else? What time did Miss Reid say she is coming with my dinner? Grant's voice had softened. Grant grinned, Stephen's voice had softened. Grant grinned like a Cheshire cat. Grant had worked for Stephen for the last 7 years, and he knew dinner was not his interest. Slow down, Mr. Price. You are just recovering from one woman. Do not get involved with another just yet. Involved, Stephen barked. I am hungry and in need of sustenance, not romance. Whatever you say, sir. Miss Reid is a beautiful woman. She is kind, but I have the feeling she will read you your rights if you cross her. Stephen tried to hold back a smile. I gathered the same thing. Well, just be careful. Don't get involved if you can't handle it. She seems to be a nice person. Stephen glanced at Grant. Okay. Grant smiled at his boss. Great. Maybe you will be happy here, sir. Maybe this will mark a new beginning for you, a revival for your life and your writing. Stephen thought about this. He knew it was time for him to get back to writing. After all, he was an award-winning scribe, but it had been a year since he had found inspiration. Didn't even know how to begin after all the hurt and shame. He did need time to get better, time to heal. He ran his hand along the stone fireplace. This seemed like the perfect place for both. To answer your earlier question, the accommodations are fine. It's nice, homey, peaceful. Great. If you are happy, then I'm gleeful. I will be on my way. Everything you need is in your suitcase. Grant glanced at his boss, except the booze. It's been removed. I will talk with you soon, sir. Good night. Good night, Grant. While I am away, please get up the nerve to talk to the new intern, Stephen challenged. Perhaps you will be able to talk civilized with Miss Reid, Grant countered. Perhaps. Grant grinned at his boss, nodding as he closed the door. Stephen walked around the room. He did not do it justice. It was more than nice. It was exquisite. The wood was solid oak with antique pieces sprinkled throughout. He walked into the bedroom. The brown and tan theme continued with a bed so inviting Stephen almost jumped into the fluffy brown comforter, an array of multi-sized pillows. He needed a bath first, and he would enjoy one in the oversized garden tub. Wow, Regina knew how to treat her guests. Candles lined the tub, as did 2 pots of philodendron. Nice, he loved houseplants. His wife hadn't. It would be calming to care for them. Maybe he would purchase more while he was there. Stephen would eventually make use of the standalone shower. For now, he would use a long granite counter encasing the double sink to store his toiletries and other belongings. I'm going to move down just a couple of paragraphs so that we can get into Stephen and Regina having some more interaction. So at this point, Stephen is sitting at the table. He's pulled out his laptop and he decides to do some writing. Oh, you know what? I'll let you all read that when you purchase a book. So let me move down a little bit further. So Stephen had already penned 20 pages when he heard a knock on the door. He had already decided he would wait and see if Regina would use her key. After a few more knocks, she did with a warning of her entry. Mr. Price, we are coming in. Did she know about him? Had she called the police? He stiffened as the door opened and Regina and a tall, buff gentleman entered the room. So she has two bodyguards. He noticed their arms were not empty. Obviously, the man was carrying his food, but Regina dragged in a roller cart. What was she up to? Okay, I'm going to take a minute to pause here, you all. So, a couple of paragraphs back, we hear Stephen kind of talking to himself, and he's thinking about what he just recovered from, the reason why his business, while the board of his business sent him on this retreat. Right here, he's talking about, had she called the police? Did she know about him? Y'all, what y'all think Stephen hiding? What secret do y'all think Stephen is hiding? Put it in the chat. Even if you're watching this broadcast later, add it to the comments. What secret or what incident or what trouble do you think Stephen is hiding? All right, I'm going to move to a couple of more pages. So I'm just going to give you the end of chapter 1. So Regina and Sage, they set up the dining experience for Stephen as if he was a part of the Valentine's Day dinner. Like, they put linen on the table, they give him a vase of roses, like everything is set up really formal so that Stephen can enjoy his dinner. So I'm going to move into chapter 2 and read just a few paragraphs of chapter 2, and then we will end our 2021 book study, Bountiful Blessings edition. Mondays were usually light. Guests checking out from the weekend, time to do the laundry and deep clean the rooms, little to no check-ins. Just the way Regina liked it after a busy weekend. She and her staff could relax and pump up the music with little interruption. The only guest she had to contend with had not yet shown himself. It was well into the afternoon and he had not come for his breakfast or lunch. Once dinner came and went, Regina decided she needed to check on her guests. She prepared a dinner plate and, against Brett's advisement, headed to the heavenly hut by herself. She sat the small tray on the bench outside and knocked on the door. She used her key after several attempts. When she walked in, Stephen was slumped over the dining table. Panic filled Regina. She put her hand to his neck to see if he was still breathing. He reacted immediately, grabbing her hand and twisting her around. "Mr. Price," Regina called out firmly. Stephen came to his senses, remembering where he was and who had just assaulted him. Well, at least who had startled him. He released Regina and stepped away. "How did you get in here?" Stephen asked, rougher than he expected, angry with himself for putting his hands on Regina. "My key. I knocked several times. Are you all right?" Stephen laughed with no humor. "I should have asked you that first. Did I hurt you?" he asked quietly. "You surprised me." Regina rubbed her wrist. "Let me see." Stephen held out his hand. "I'm okay." Stephen gave her a look that commanded her obedience. She sighed and walked over to him, extending her arm. He examined it as if he knew what he was doing. Regina was taken aback by the gentle touch and sincerity in his eyes. "Nothing is broken, but you may see bruising tomorrow. I apologize for mishandling you, Miss Reid. I would never put my hands on a woman. I am very sorry about this." "I accept your apology." She cocked her head up at him. "How long were you in the military?" He jolted his head toward her. 25 years. I joined right after high school. Retired about 10 years ago. Any wars? Gulf War, a few tours in Afghanistan. She considered him thoughtfully. "I'm glad you made it back to the States safely. I am glad that you were protected." "It's okay to say God. I know he kept me safe over there. With all the death and turmoil I saw, it was only God that kept me from harm and brought me back home every time. I am not a Christian or anything, but my experience has taught me that there is a God. Regina smiled. She allowed her eyes to sweep over his face, the sadness that lit his eyes, the hard lines caressing his face, the set lock of his jaw, his stance, a former Marine. Thank you for serving, for keeping us safe. Stephen nodded before turning away. He wondered how he must look to her. Was his age showing? His weariness? Of course it was. He had watched the steady increase of gray intertwining his brown curls over the last few years. It wasn't hiding itself, and he wasn't into hair dyes, so it would have to do. Why did he care about how she saw him anyway? Regina was what, 30? Getting a little interesting, ain't it? Um, and he was older, much older. How old y'all think Stephen is? But there was something there, something that flowed in between them, something he did not even want to explore. Stephen took a moment to glance at her and wondered what coursed through her mind as she stood examining him. What was that? Compassion? Regina allowed a few seconds to pass between them before she headed toward the door. He wanted to say something, wanted to tell her that she didn't have to go, but what was he going to say? Have a seat and stay a while, especially after I just assaulted you? Jeez. What was wrong with him? Well, she did sneak up on him, sort of. He watched Regina open the door and walk out without closing it. He leaned his head to see what she was doing. She brought me something to eat. He released a breath he did not even know he was holding. She sat the tray on the table. I think I'm going to stop right there. So Stephen is saying Regina is about 30. How old do you think Stephen might be? The book notes that he has gray hair, brown hair, and there's gray hair intertwining the brown. So add to the chat or the comments later how old you think Stephen is. This book is available in print and in ebook form. I encourage you to go to determinedpublishing.com and get Bountiful Blessings so that you can read how this story ends. And I'm curious to know, again, what do you all think Stephen is hiding? And well, it's kind of hard to know how Regina is going to respond because we don't know that much about Regina, other than she's a business owner, she's a mother of a son. She treats her staff well, but we really don't know much else about her personality at this point. So it's kind of hard to determine what Regina might say about Stephen's secret or about finding out what his secret is. But anyway, I again encourage you, go pick up Bountiful Blessings on determinedpublishing.com. Go ahead and pick up you a copy of Walking Out Our Love at Kobo, absolutely free in the ebook form. If you want the print form of this book, it is available for $6 on determinedpublishing.com. Bountiful Blessings is available for, I wish I would have. I think this one is available for $7 on determinedpublishing.com in print form, and it's available for $2.99 in ebook. So again, pick you up a copy. So I'm gonna read the chat and see what's being said. Oh, okay. So my mom noted that as far as a benefits package is concerned, if she would take that in lieu of a salary, she said it all depends on what is included. Is a car, money for childcare, schooling, shopping, etc. So she would need to know what that benefits package looked like before she would swap it for a salary. I feel that. Also, my mom mentioned she thinks that Stephen was involved in a wrongful situation that shed a negative outlook on the company he owned. Maybe some pictures that have been tampered with that showed him in a bad way. Oh, that's a good thought. That's a really good thought. And she noted that she thinks Stephen is in his 40s. That's a good guess. He's a little older. He's not quite 60, but he's not quite 40. But it does tell you a little bit later how old Stephen is and how their age kind of, they talk about their age in relation to a possible friendship or a possible relationship. We'll see how that goes as you read the story. So thank you so much for joining me tonight for our 2021 book study. Next month, we're going to read A Love So Strong. Y'all, I forgot to bring A Love So Strong over, but I'm going to tell you what it's about. A Love So Strong is a young adult fiction. It is a coming of age story that features Todd and Deandra. So when the book opens, they are in class together in a high school diversity and inclusion class. And the teacher is giving them an assignment that brings them in close proximity, y'all. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'll go ahead and tell you what the assignment is because we're going to read it in the very first chapter. So the assignment is that the classmates have to go and stay with each other in each other's house for 1 month. So the teacher teams the classmates up and they switch off, staying at each other's house. And the purpose of them staying at each other's house is to learn about each other, to learn their family traditions, to learn their family values, and ultimately to gain a greater appreciation for people with different cultural backgrounds, with different ethnic backgrounds, possibly different religious backgrounds. So that is going to be the chapter 1 of A Love So Strong. It's good, y'all. It's a coming of age. Like I said, it's a young adult fiction, but it's really good. It has some really good life lessons embedded within the story. And Todd and Deandra deal with some real life situations. They deal with some real life family situations. So tune in next month. It will be on the 4th Thursday next month at 6:30 p.m. for A Love So Strong. Thank you again for joining me for our 2021 book study. I hope this is month 5. I hope that you are enjoying the book study. I'm having a lot of fun reading the stories. I'm having a lot of fun introducing my books and my characters to you. Sometimes I feel like I just want to get to the meat of the story, but I want to give you the introduction so that you at least know the beginning or the origins of how this couple meets and possibly see the budding of their romance. So thank you. I'll see you next time. Be blessed.